What's going on, everybody? It's Chris from Profoto, and today on our live, we are going to be talking about lighting ratios, essentially the difference between your main light and your fill light. So we're going to be talking about the differences between, like, what's a 1-to-1, a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 kind of stuff, and breaking all that down, showing you how you can measure it, seeing if we can do the same things with a light meter that we can do with the air remote, just kind of having fun with it, and talking through any lighting ratio questions you may have or any other Profoto questions you may have. We're live. I'm here for you to ask me anything. So we're hanging out. If you, in the meantime too, while we're doing this, I know I always ask for this like towards the end of the live, and maybe some people have checked out by then. If you have anything in particular that you want to actually see a Facebook Live, or you, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Periscope, if you want to see us demonstrate for you, that way you can kind of get a better idea of maybe a product or a technique, just shoot me a comment. I'll check that out. Kate's monitoring all the comments too. She can jot it all down. So fun stuff. So, but we're going to be breaking down lighting ratios today, kind of staying in the 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 4-to-1 kind of realm with stuff like that. That way we can kind of work through some things. The numbers really come down to the ratio of one to the other. So it's not like a 1-to-1 and a 2-to-1 is one stop of light difference between one another. But once you start going to a 4-to-1, it starts to double. So there's a lot of wiggle room in there, and I want to make sure that we kind of go over that stuff too, and we can work out all that kind of stuff. Let me see if you guys have any questions. What's up, Indy in the house? Rehoboth Beach. Hello, Rehoboth Beach. What's happening? Who's in Rehoboth? Oh, Sam is. What's up, Sam? How you doing, dude? Sorry, pull up my little tally light so I can see where I'm tally lighting. Cool. Sweet. Let's see. Sweden in the house. Hey, Sweden in the house. We're Sweden, except for in Atlanta, Georgia. So lighting setup is pretty basic for us today. I know you'll probably be able to see it on the wide shot, but we have what we're going to be using for our fill light is a 4x6 rectangular softbox. I like to turn it sideways because it acts like we talked about this whenever we did the natural light headshot live. I think that might have even been last week. I just like to turn it sideways. It acts like a big gigantic window, and it kind of wraps around. Really beautiful fill light. I use it for fill a lot of the times. And then we're going to be predominantly using this 4-foot octabox. I just like it. It's my favorite size octabox. So, and it is it's got a B10 Plus wrapped around it. So if you guys have any questions about any of the stuff that we're using, there's links in the description, so you can go check out any of the products and whatnot that we have going on. But yeah, we're going to dive into lighting ratios. So like I said, your lighting ratios, when it comes down to what it comes down to, is just going to be the difference between your light and your shadow. So deciding how you want your light, the look and feel that you want from your shot, is kind of how you decide what you want your ratio to be. Something more like a 1-to-1 where the light's even on both sides, or where, in this case, the fill light's going to match the same power as the main light for us, because we're not shooting. It's not like a side-by-side like 2-light setup clamshell thing. So it's not like you start taking this one away and it gets deeper. But yeah, what's going to essentially happen is we'll set that fill light and this main light to the same ratio, and you're just going to kind of flood the scene with light, and it kind of fills in everything. It's really, really pretty. You see people use it in maybe fashion, catalog work, just because you're getting a lot of light towards something, you can light something up, things like that. And then once you start to bring the ratios down to like your 2-to-1s and your 3-to-1s and your 4-to-1s, what's going to happen is you're going to start increasing that contrast. You're going to start letting that fill light like darken the shadows, and you're going to start adding some more drama into your shots. So it just comes down to, what's the look and feel that you like. For me personally, I don't like a ton of contrast in my stuff unless like I'm going for something extra moody, which generally I'm more of my style's kind of a little more upbeat. So I kind of like to live in like the 2-to-1. I might poke around in the 4-to-1 ratio area, but it's a personal preference thing. So however you like to shoot this kind of stuff, that's how you'll do it. So that is what we're going to do right now. I'm going to get set up. What's up, Basim? What's happening, man? Good to see you. So we're going to get set up here. I've got camera-wise, because people like to ask camera stuff, Fuji X-T3 with the Air TTL F remote for the Fuji, because that's what I'm using. Camera settings, f8, 2/50th of a second, ISO 160 on a tripod, shooting Capture One because I like Capture One. So that's what we're going to use. You can use whatever you want to use. If you don't want to tether, don't tether. You have a screen on the back of your camera. Hope, maybe, possibly. So let's get rock and rolling. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be doing with my light meter. That way we can just ensure that the looks that we're getting are exactly what we want, one-to-one stuff. So I've got my light meter. I have a second air remote. So I don't want to necessarily take my air remote on and off my camera. So one cool thing that you can actually do with Profoto stuff is if you have, like, this is the original air remote, so no TTL in it or anything. If you have one of these remotes, you can just like leave it in your pocket and pull it out and use it as a remote while that one's on top of your camera, and it works really, really brilliantly. So I'm gonna be using this air remote just to kind of control the power, and yeah, we'll be rocking and rolling. So you ready to give this a shot, Kate?
Totally. You want me to put your computer up?
Yeah, you can throw the computer up. Let's see. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome sauce. So, cool?
Hold on. There we go. We're back.
Sweet. So Caitlin's gonna come up here, like I said, very first, we went radio silent. We like broke the rule of radio. We went radio silent. So, we're gonna go now and shoot a one-to-one shot. Is at least like the okay, you can see the picture in picture. Cool. So Sconic light meter, got my remote going weirdly, awkwardly silent there for a second. So I'm gonna make sure that my setting stuff is in place. So one thing I forgot to do, get my laptop out of the way so I can actually put my light where I need it. So I locked my wheel last week because it keeps rolling.
Rolls back.
And like, I don't want to keep unlocking it and relocking it, so I just leave it locked. So it's going to make a lot of nice, fun, squeaky noises while I'm scooting my laptop around out of the way of stuff.
Promise
So
we didn't eat beans.
no beans, bean free. No beans. All right, cool. So what we're going to do is I'm going to test my fill light first. I'm going to bring it up to, I'm going to go to 5.6 on both lights because I'm shooting f8. And when you combine 5.6 and 5.6, you double, becomes f8. So we're going to take the backlight right now. Let's test it. 5.6.9, so we're going to stop over. So let's go now. So there we go. Perfect, 5.6 there. So we're going to shut down the fill light. Let's rotate to the main. Cool, we're flashing. So let's go up, we're 1, 2. So we're 5.6 across the board on everything. So now when we take this shot right here, turn my air mode on, or else I'd be super embarrassed. So let's actually have you scooch over a little bit, Caitlin. I'm actually going to re-meter too because I didn't have you centered in the backdrop. That's come back this way just a skosh. Perfect. And I have the backdrop leaning a little bit away. I want to do that. Cool, we're good. Cool, perfect. So I'm just gonna re-meter just because we moved her a little bit and she's a little closer to this light now. So yeah, we jumped up a little bit. Cool, 5.6 there. So now we can kick everything on. And then when we take the shot, we should have a nice even light side to side, no shadows. 3, 2, 1. Oh, there we go. Pretty even. Pretty even. Really, really pretty light. Like I said, no real shadows. Honestly, I can see a little bit, but when we measure this thing out with the light meter, we're getting f8 on the money. So that's a proper exposure with that a little side by side. What you could do is if you really want to kind of pump it up and make it kind of really look that true one-to-one, we could go to f8 on both sides, which we'll do. We'll just go one stop on the energy. So we go right there, And then when we take the shot,
Oh, I was not.
oh, you weren't even looking. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That was what, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
Contemplating life.
yeah, that was actually
Thinking about lunch.
that was actually, I'm actually thinking about lunch right now myself. So we're F8 across the board.
Dang it.
That did it again. We've been playing with a lot of stuff today, like testing things and messing around with between the air remote and the actual meter itself. And I've just been flipping the thing off. And she's my wife, so she's just used to me doing this kind of stuff. So I apologize. So all right, right here, 3, 2, 1. There we go. So awesome. So pretty flat. So pretty even stuff. But what we're gonna do is we're going to I'm gonna turn off. Let me have my master set. So there's a lot of, when you're doing this stuff, there's a lot of kind of moving things around. The cool thing about having kind of the light meter separate from the air remote is the fact that I can do this and I'm not walking over to my light, changing it, walking over to my light, changing it. Having this in my hand, I don't have to walk over to my camera and change it, which honestly, the camera setup isn't as big of a deal just because it's right there and I don't have to reach my short Tyrannosaurus Rex arms up there to that light. So, but we're gonna get this.
How close does that thing have to be to my face?
So you want this light meter to be right under the chin.
They can't see it.
Well, sorry, kind of right under the chin. At least this is how I do it. I like to point at the camera. Some people like to actually point at the light source themselves. I like to go towards the camera just because I want to meter for what the camera sees. So I go to right up under the chin, even with the face. That way it kind of catches everything. So you can meter towards the lights if you want to, if you want the exact reading on the lights. Like I said, care about what the camera sees. It's a personal preference thing. I know there's people are going to tell me that there's right and wrong ways of doing it. There's a million right and wrong ways of doing everything. So let's see. So that last shot was 1-to-1. So if that means, hold on just 1 second. Let me kick this off. So when we measure everything out, we're at 5.6 there. And then when we go to group B and turn that back on, this is a lot of numbers too kind of being thrown around today, guys. It could be a touch dry. If you have any questions while I'm doing it, just let me know. But like I said, we shot both of those at 5.6. They equaled out to F8, even side to side with everything. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take that main light and I'm gonna pump it up to F8. And what we're gonna do with the fill light is we're gonna bring that down to 5.6 even. That is a 1-stop difference. And that is let me do this really fast. Turn everything off. Turn this back on. And then this should be your 2-to-1 lighting ratio. So kind of the way you think about your lighting ratios is just you're gonna double everything. So if you go down, so a 1-to-1 lighting ratio, everything's flat. A 2-to-1 lighting ratio is when you're 1 stop down. Right? Did I say that right? Now I'm starting to doubt myself. I have my,
So many numbers.
I've said so much stuff today. Yeah, 1 stop down is 2-to-1. So 2-to-1, and then when you go 2 stops down, that's 4-to-1. Sorry, I've said a whole bunch of stuff today. So 2-to-1 is 1 stop down. So that's what we just did. So we're now measured out, everything on, master up, everything on. We're at F8. So what we should have now is a nice little shadow off to the side of Caitlin's right side. 3, 2, 1. I hooked you up that time. I actually let you be ready. So we starting to get some shadow creeping in over here on this side. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to drop it down another stop, and because we will be 2 stops off of the main light, that's going to be a 4-to-1 lighting ratio. And we're really going to start developing a lot more shadow over on her right side of her body. And so what we're just going to do is I'm going to go to group B here, and I'm going to take it down another stop. If we measure everything out, we're still in pretty good shape. I could go. It's weird. It's reading now 5.67, which means I need to kind of go up 0.3 to get back to F8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit master on my air remote and light everything up, and I'm just going to kind of go up 2 clicks and see what happens. 1 extra click, and that gets me right to where I want to be. So now when I take the shot, 3, 2, 1. This fill light's going to come down some more, and we're going to start developing even more shadow over there on that side of the face. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to an 8-to-1 ratio. So, right, yeah. So we went 1 stop down, 2-to-1, I have notes. I apologize. 3 stops down is 8 to 1 ratio. So we're going to go to a 3 to 1, 8 to 1 ratio, which is 3 stops down. So all I'm going to do now is go to my group B, and I'm going to turn that down 1 more stop. We're going to measure out everything. There we go. And so we kind of drop back down again to that 5.67. So I'm going to hit master again. I'm going to bring that back up. Bop. And there, we're back in business. So here we go, Caitlin. 3, 2, 1. And we'll look at these side by side so you can start to see some of these shadows and stuff like that developing. Thank you, Caitlin. If you guys have any questions, we'll toy with some stuff. Also, I was thinking about doing the same thing with the air remote and seeing if we could develop a lot of the same looks with the air remote just with TTL, and I think we're going to do that before we sign off. Let's see. Hello, what's up, everybody? Hey. Portugal in the house, Belgium in the house, Argentina in the house. What's up, Emma? Thanks for hanging. Thanks for coming and seeing me. What's up, everybody? Is it possible to share the screen that shows what you are doing and not capture One Plus? Yeah, so we'll do it again, and we'll do it with the main screen so you can actually see that. So just hang tight with me for a second. Los Angeles in the house. So let's go. Start to blow this up right here. So this is what you're going to start seeing as you start to increase your lighting ratios. So this is our last one. This is our 4 to 1. This is our 2 to 1, and this is more of a 1 to 1. Although honestly, this isn't a true 1 to 1 because there's a touch. Hold on, let me get my loop tool. There's a touch of shadow over here that I'm not necessarily going for, but it's still pretty right on the money. So, but this is just what's going to happen as you start to increase those ratios. Once again, you're going to start getting deeper and deeper shadows. So you just have to decide what look is it that you're going for. And you don't necessarily need to always go, oh, I'm definitely shooting a 2 to 1 ratio. I'm definitely shooting a 4 to 1 ratio. It's just a good thing to know when you're trying, like if someone goes, hey, I'd love to have this set up kind of 4 to 1-ish or kind of 8 to 1-ish. 8 to 1, that's crazy. But yeah, it's really, really deep. So like 4 to 1, 8 to 1, 2 to 1, if you're working with somebody and they just start spouting that out, you know. So if you're at 1 to 1, your lights are even. If you're at 2 to 1, you're 1 stop down on your fill light. 4 to 1, you're 2 stops down. So really, really easy stuff. And so that we did a lot of that stuff with the flash meter, which is fun and stuff like that. But the cool thing is too is we have an Air TTL remote. It's not exactly the same, and it just doesn't do it the exact same way, because a lot of times the air remote is just ratioing a light off of another light. But we're going to mess around with it and see how close we can get with it. So I think it's kind of fun. So we have an air remote in TTL mode. We're going to kind of put the light meter to the side, and we're going to do a lot of the same stuff that we did with the air remote. Let me see if you guys have any questions. I know I blew this up. Let me get this back down there. Let's see. Peru in the house. What's happening? Hey, Zeus, what's happening, man, my man? Good to see everybody. Hey. So let me get this back up here. So I want to do the same thing again, Caitlin, but I want to do it with without the light meter. We're going to use the light meter in the camera with the air remote and see if we can get a lot of that same stuff. See if we can get a lot of the same looks. So this time, I know somebody wanted to see, and we'll do it too with the light meter as well, because I think it might be fun. But could you just bring up the side shot totally, and maybe,
Okay.
And then we can go back to capture one whenever we finish taking the shots.
Okay.
Cool.
You got full side shot.
Full side shot. So hey guys, so once again, with the side shot, you can see our fill light says 4x6. We have this big 4-foot octa and a B10 right here. My B2 that is hanging from my light stand is not being used for this, so I know that you may see it hanging there. It is not on. So it's not even plugged in. So I have my B10 rocking and rolling. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to do a lot of the same stuff with the air remote. So if you've ever used the TTL air remote, you know that in TTL mode, you can have a seat, Caitlin. You can go in here and you can actually dial in kind of how many stops down you want one light to be in comparison to another light. So we're going to take, I'm going to have to take some close-ups. So I zoom in really, really tight and take my TTL shots, because the tough thing that would happen here is Caitlin's also wearing a black top. So, and we're using a relatively darker background, so TTL is probably going to see some of that stuff and try to overexpose it. So I want to not let that happen. So I'm going to zoom in relatively tight to her face so the TTL sees that.
They don't have the computer screen.
That's fine. I'm letting them know whenever I'm zooming in and stuff like that too. I see, and then we'll throw the computer screen up.
Gotcha.
So the first shot we're going to do TTL. Everything is even. So in theory, this should be more of a 1-to-1. All the lights should be relative. It's not necessarily going to happen because the lights aren't the same distance to one another. Because all the TTL really cares about is that it's making a properly exposed shot. So it's not really bouncing it off of one another, but we're going to see how close we can get to some of those results with just the TTL remote and not having to use a light meter. So this is just 1-to-1. Oh, you know what? They won't actually even see these close-up shots. Yeah, so sweet. So here we go. There's a 1-to-1 shot. Cool. Yeah, and that's definitely not a true 1-to-1. So I'm going to zoom out and take a, right here, Caitlin, chin down a little bit. Yeah, that's not even close to a 1-to-1. So we're going to go TTL, we're going to go to group B, and I'm going to turn that down one more stop. So technically this should be like a 2-to-1. After seeing the first one, I don't expect it to be truly that, but we'll see how that looks. So let's go in really tight. Caitlin's happy because no one can actually see this shot. Oh, I'm having there it goes. I'm having a camera freak out session. Hang on one second. Yeah, I don't think these are doing, the ratio wise with this is nothing like using it with the light meter. So I would, if you're sticking a light, right here, can you chin down a little bit? Right there. Yeah, these are way more ratioed out. And once again, it has a lot to do with light placement. It's not trying to do a proper ratio. So we're gonna go group B and we're gonna take it down to its final 2 stops down, which once again, after seeing the last 2 shots, I don't expect this to be a proper ratio. So yeah, it's super dark. All right, let's take the wide shot and then we can let people see. Yeah, so these are way more ratio. Now, that's not to say that you don't have some control. Here, I'll pull up the shots. That's not to say that you don't have some control with it, but if you think that this is gonna give you a proper ratio, like, oh yeah, I gotta push this out of the way. If you think that this is gonna give you a proper ratio like you would get from using a light meter, it's just not gonna happen. So let's get these pulled up. Right there. So here are the ratios that we did with just the air remote. Now granted, it gave us similar results, but they're not the true results. So like the 1-to-1 is definitely more of a, I would say 2-to-1, closer to a 4-to-1. And then as you start to go, down the level, so 1 stop down, 2 stops down, it starts to exaggerate out a little bit. So you have the ability to do something similar, but replicating the exact same thing, it's not the same thing. So here we go. Once again, this was with the air remote. This was a 1-to-1. This was everything flat, so everything was reading the same. It was just making one common exposure. Whereas when we were using the light meter, we were measuring for this light, we were measuring for this light, and we were combining them. So the camera's not necessarily doing that. It just sees a pre-flash and it sets it. So. But once again, you can see these are much deeper shadows than you would get by doing it with a light meter. So you guys have any questions about what we're doing? Hello from the Master of Light in Michigan. What's up, Nico, the Master of Light? What's up, dude? What model is that back softbox? So this is a RFI 4x6. I think it's our biggest square softbox. But if you want some more information about it, if you check the links up above in the description, you can go read up on it. There's a link. There should be a link for everything that we use. I even think we were going to use the beauty dish. I think we decided not to do that today. But there's a link for the OCF beauty dish in there too. Let's see. I'm really wondering what the point is here. It's just to talk about lighting ratios and talk about if you have any questions on how they work. Is essentially all we're doing. Just having fun with light, playing with things. I wanted to see, honestly, the biggest thing that I wanted to see with a lot of this live, I lost my Lost my HDMI setup. It freaked out on me. Hang on a second, guys. So, is my laptop back up?
Yep, we're good.
Gotcha. Sorry. I have this little plug right here. So, essentially, what I wanted to do today is, with the lighting ratios, I wanted to see how close we could get with using the air remote as its ratio setup as you can when you do it properly with a light meter. And while we were doing that, I also just wanted to talk about ratios in general. That way, if anyone had any questions about ratios, well, like what they were, how do you measure them up, we could talk about that kind of stuff. So that's essentially what today is. It's a lot of the times the live thing is I'll answer questions that you have, but if I have some questions too that I think are kind of interesting or that are product related to the way that maybe you want to use stuff or the way that I use stuff. So I know for the longest time I always did my ratios just with my air remote. And I was like, oh, it should be pretty much it. And kind of seeing this makes me realize that, I was probably off a little bit more than I thought I was. So I just think that's kind of fun stuff to do. And that way, if maybe you're using your air remote and you're not getting that result, we can kind of discuss why you would be getting that. And like I said, for the most part, the reason that we were looking at this with the TTL remote and getting probably darker results is this is going to be much closer to Caitlin than the backlight was. And all the camera's trying to do is make the scene 18% gray. That's what TTL's trying to do. So what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, this light we want to leave flat to whatever the camera thinks we're going to need, but we need this light to go down by a stop or whatever you adjust it by. And it's just going to make one big flash to kind of rope everything in. It doesn't necessarily care about the nuance of like how you want stuff done. Whereas, sometimes I was thinking, oh, does that really matter that much? Looks like it matters a bunch. So let's see. Is this equipment suitable for fine art? You can use Profoto's equipment for everything. For the most part, if you can photograph with it, probably not underwater stuff. You'll probably get, if you take your Profoto stuff underwater, I always tell people you'll probably get one good flash out of it and it won't work again. But it should be fine. It should be great for fine art. There's a lot of people who use it for lots of different stuff. So, fashion's really, we do a lot of stuff with fashion, wedding, portraiture. Profoto's good for everything. Let's see. Nico, I used 3 lights yesterday with no light meter and just TTL to manual. My ratio went well too. I did verify the light meter, Profoto light. Gotcha. So yeah, and you can do a lot of that stuff. So like I said, I used the TTL remote method for the longest time. And honestly, I shoot way more environmental stuff than I shoot studio stuff. So a lot of the times my fill light, I'm balancing with my camera's shutter speed. So I can see that with my with the screen on the back of my camera. So I talk about that a lot with the auto exposure lock stuff that we do. So if it's the way that you like to work and you know how your gear is going to handle and give you the results that you want, that's really all it's about. So this, once again, was just kind of to do a little exploring between going the light meter route, going the TTL remote route, seeing what kind of results you can get from each one, and just having a little bit of fun with it. So let's see. Really, that's it for the most part. I don't think you guys have any more questions for me for the day. Doesn't look like. Oh, let's see. Let's see, with Profoto TTL, when a power setting adjustment is put in, usually also adjust the power output from the non-adjusted head. If 2 equal size light sources equally distance from the TTL would give you, yes, exactly. So that's what I was saying. Like I have a much bigger modifier, a little bit smaller modifier. This is way closer. So yeah, if I was shooting something even, if I was definitely doing something like a clamshell setup, whether it be, vertical or horizontal, you're probably going to get it to lock in right on the money. If I was to go and look at the power settings, for the most part, what it'll do is a lot of times it'll align the power settings. So it just depends. Like I said, there's a lot of things in play here. Modifiers, distance from the subject and stuff like that. You're better off if you need to know your ratios right off the jump using a light meter. So let's see. Cool. Hey, man. Thanks, Nico. I appreciate all the love, man. When would you use a certain ratio versus another? It really comes down to what kind of mood are you trying to evoke. So if you're trying to go really, really moody, or maybe add a lot of extra drama to it, you want to exaggerate your ratio. So you're going to want to go something like a probably a 4-to-1, maybe even an 8-to-1. So that way you're like 2, 3, 4 stops down. You probably don't want to go much further past 4 stops, unless it's the look that you're going for, because kind of at 4 stops, there's not really, you're starting to lose information. It's kind of, you're just not actually picking up on anything anymore. So it just depends on what you're going for. So if you're trying to stay like kind of light and airy, 1-to-1's nice, 2-to-1's probably kind of the limit where you want to be with that kind of stuff, because obviously once you start adding shadows in, area and drama aren't necessarily compatible. So once again, you're not always going to go through your shoot thinking, oh, what lighting ratio am I going to use here, that, and the other. But it's still good information to know, especially if, once again, you're working with someone and maybe they like to work that way, and they pop off and go, hey, could you, kind of set me up? I need a 2-to-1 ratio. Or if you're explaining to somebody kind of like how to get a certain look, you could be like, hey, maybe you want to do like a 2-to-1 ratio, 3-to-1 ratio, something like that. So that's kind of how I use it. Let's see. Hello. Sweet. So once again, just kind of having fun with the equipment, exploring some stuff, seeing what we can do. I hope that was kind of fun. Like I said, a lot of numbers can be kind of dry, but I've been wondering for a long time what the difference between using it with my air remote and just doing it with my light meter is going to give me. And that answered some questions, and we were able to do it live, which was kind of fun. So hopefully that was good information. If you have any other questions about anything you want to see, once again, I know we talked about this in the beginning of the live. Hit me up anytime. I'm around. You can shoot me a personal message. You can shoot Profoto. Oh, I see something pop up. One is continue light, and the other is a flash. Hello from Guadalajara. So no, the thing that you see on my backlight is I just have the modeling lamp running. I use my D2 as my fill light a lot of times when I'm in the studio. And I do that because the bright modeling lamp allows me to get my subject's pupils to get smaller in the shot, and I don't have to use my battery up on my battery powered stuff that I like to kind of use as my mains on rollers and move it around. So you just see the modeling lamp on. This right here, my actual video light, my camera settings are such that the video light does not pollute the shot. So any of the continuous stuff that you see has nothing to do with the actual shot. Everything is strobe. So the D2 that's in there, the modeling lamp's on, but we were exposing with the strobe of the D2. It's the same thing with the B10. We were using the strobe. So can you please teach next time what you do on location setting light? Yeah, totally. We can definitely do an outside light. It's sunny here in Atlanta now. It's been raining a whole lot recently, and I know there's a hurricane hitting the U.S., so hopefully everybody's being safe who is getting that right now. And it might hook over this way, so you never know. But we'll definitely do an outside one. I like doing a lot of environmental stuff too, so cool. Sweet. Well, thank you guys in the meantime so much for hanging out with me, for goofing around with me and exploring some stuff. Let's see. Any applications you use to work with your lights, like 3D apps that help you understand? I don't. I know that there's a couple of really rad ones that are out there right now that have like a lot of, I can't remember the name of it. Someone showed it to me recently. It was really cool, where you can put in some pretty detailed stuff and get some pretty good renderings. But I personally don't use it myself. So is there a workaround for the TTL remote if you have a light scheme with more than 3 groups? So if you're trying to do it with the TTL setup, like we were doing, where we were trying to ratio on the TTL remote, there's not really a way of doing it. But if you're just trying to work with more than 1 light, or pardon me, with more than 3 lights, like in manual mode, and you're locking everything down, you could do what I was doing, where a lot of times I'll keep this with me in my pocket. One, it's a great backup, just to have a backup in case something catastrophic were to happen to my TTL remote. But the cool thing is you can have this in your pocket and you go, oh, I need to change my hair light on group D, and select group D, and you can move all that stuff around, and these two won't interfere with one another. So if you're changing something on this one, it's not going to freak this remote out, and vice versa. So if you don't need TTL and you can go manual, you snag one of these air remotes right here, the original air remote, and you could have 6 group control. So let's see. Oh man, yeah. So do that. So check into getting a regular air remote. So once again, you can kind of keep it in your pocket, just take it out and make your adjustments right there on the fly from your air remote. So, so I hear you. So check the used market, see if you can find one. See if you can find a slick deal in the used market. I know some people have done where like some people will sell theirs when they break the shoe, and then at that point it's really only good for a remote. So you could always find a good deal. So Chris, could you do a live about how to use the A1 A1X on camera and make a photo look good, not like it's too hot and flat? Yeah, totally. We can do some on-camera stuff. That'd be super fun. So I'll put that in the books too, Jess, and we'll get that done. Manual air remote has saved my bacon before. It's a really handy little tool to have with you. So if you can swing it, if you can find a sick deal on one, do it. You can check. We have on the Profoto site now. We have a used like a demo gear section. So you could always go and check in there and see if we have a deal on like a demo version of the air remote. See if you can snag a sweet deal on that thing too. Sweet. Thanks for the input on that one, Woody. Yeah, the manual one's pretty sick. So once again, Jess, we will absolutely do a live where we blend our on-camera flash with natural light. We'll try to play around with it a little bit too. We'll do maybe like in the sun and in the shade, see what it looks like. And then I know somebody else wanted another live outside, so we'll be sure to do that. Let's see. Cool. I don't see anything else. So, one more thing popped up. Gotcha. So, in the meantime, I hope you all have an awesome weekend. Thank you so much for kicking it with me. If you, once again, have any other questions or any other suggestions after we sign off, once again, you can leave a comment. It'd probably be easier just to shoot us over a message at Profoto and they'll slide it over to me. Or you can hunt me down on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm the Chris Fain. And I'll make sure I get that added into my calendar of stuff that we're going to do, and we'll have some fun with it. So thank you so much. Have an awesome, awesome weekend. Stay safe. Peace out.